He called her his soulmate, begged for her kidney to survive, then dumped her for a side chick before her stitches even healed. What she did next will leave you speechless. Chuka made Adana believe she was the center of his world. He called her his soulmate, his rock, the woman who made his life worth living. Every morning, he kissed her forehead and whispered how lucky he was to have her. He planned their future out loud. Kids, vacations, growing old together. Adana felt secure, loved and chosen. They were the couple everyone admired. She never doubted his love, not even once. Then one night, Chuka came home looking pale and weak. He collapsed into her arms, crying. Between gasps, he told her the doctors said his kidneys were failing. He needed a transplant, and soon. Without it, he might not survive. Adana's world froze. She held him tightly, tears falling with his. She promised they'd get through it, together. They began testing for possible donors. Days later, they got the call. She was a match, a perfect one. The doctors explained the risks, the recovery time, the pain, but Adana didn't flinch. She didn't even think twice. She loved him. She couldn't imagine a world without him, so she said yes. Her mother begged her to reconsider. You don't give your body for love, Mama Nkechi warned, but Adana believed this was real. She believed in the man who held her hand and said, "You're saving my life, babe. I owe you everything." The surgery came. She went in first. She remembered praying that he would wake up healthy, whole. When she opened her eyes in the hospital room, her side burned with pain, but her heart was at peace. She'd saved the man she loved. What more could anyone ask for? Later that day, she was wheeled into Chuka's room. He looked weak but alive. She smiled through her discomfort, reaching out to him. He took her hand, squeezed it lightly, and said, "Thank you," just that. No tears, no warmth, no emotion in his eyes. But she told herself he was just tired. He was healing. Back home, she struggled to move around. Her stitches ached. She could barely cook or shower. But Chuka didn't seem to notice. He stayed glued to his phone, barely spoke, always leaving the room when she needed him. Still, Adana told herself it would get better. She had given him a piece of her body. Surely that meant something. She remembered the way he used to hold her, the way he used to say, "Forever, no matter what." But now, forever felt like a lie. And deep down, something inside her started to shift. The love she gave so freely was now sitting inside him. And yet, she was the one who felt empty. It had only been 2 weeks since Adana gave Chuka her kidney, and her body was still healing. She moved slowly, the pain sharp with every step, but she didn't complain. She thought love meant sacrifice. She thought he would be there for her the way she had been there for him. But something felt off. Chuka barely looked at her anymore. No hugs, no kisses, no thank you. He left early in the morning, came home late at night, and always had an excuse. "Work is crazy. I'm tired. Don't stress me." He didn't even ask how she was feeling. Adana tried to brush it off. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe the surgery affected him emotionally too. But the silence between them grew louder. He avoided sitting beside her, didn't pick her meds from the pharmacy like he promised. Sometimes, she stayed up just to hear his footsteps at the door. When he did return, it was with cologne on his shirt and liquor on his breath. One afternoon, while he was in the shower, his phone lit up on the table. Notifications from Snapchat and WhatsApp flashed quickly. Adana stared at the screen, her chest tightening. Curiosity took over. She unlocked it. He hadn't even changed the password. The first thing she saw was a string of selfies. Chuka, at a club, laughing, smiling, drinks in hand. In one picture, a woman's perfectly manicured fingers rested on his chest, long pink nails curling around his gold chain. Adana blinked, stunned. That was not her hand. That was not her nail color. She scrolled further. More pictures. Videos of him dancing with someone else. Close. Too close. While she was home in bed, bandaged and aching, he was out celebrating like nothing had happened. Her heart dropped. The man she gave part of her body to, the man she almost died for, was out partying, touching another woman. She put the phone down slowly. Her hands shook. Her stomach turned. The betrayal felt like a knife. She wanted to scream, cry, demand answers. But instead, she sat still, the weight of reality pressing hard on her chest. The surgery scar on her side throbbed as if it knew what she had just seen, as if her body was warning her, "This man doesn't love you anymore." Maybe he never really did. Chuka came out of the shower and gave her a passing glance, not even noticing her red eyes. He grabbed his keys, mumbled, "Going out," and left before she could speak. The door closed. And for the first time, Adana realized she wasn't healing from just surgery. She was healing from heartbreak. The man she saved was already slipping away. Adana started noticing small things that didn't add up. It began with the faint smell of a sweet, unfamiliar perfume on Chuka's shirts. Not once, not twice, but almost every time he came home late. She tried to ignore it, telling herself it could be from someone at work. But then came the phone call. He started taking them in the bathroom with the tap running. Sometimes she'd walk in and he'd quickly end the call, pretending it was nothing. He changed his phone password. He never used to do that. One morning, she got into their car to go pick up some groceries. As she adjusted the seat, her eyes caught a glimpse of something shiny under the passenger seat. She reached down and pulled out a small pink lip gloss tube. It wasn't hers. She hadn't worn makeup in weeks since the surgery, and even before then, she never used that brand. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stared at it. It felt like finding evidence at a crime scene. She waited until he came home that night. He walked in like everything was normal, kissed her cheek like a stranger, and sat down to scroll through his phone. She stood in front of him and held out the lip gloss. "Whose is this?" she asked quietly. He looked up, blinked once, then laughed. "Are you serious right now?" he said, brushing her off. "It's probably yours. You're forgetting things lately." Adana's hands tightened around the lip gloss. "It's not mine," she said firmly. "I don't use this. I've never even seen it before." But Chuka didn't budge. He leaned back on the couch, shook his head and said, "You're being paranoid. Maybe you need rest. You've been emotional since the surgery." His tone was calm but cold, the kind of calm that made her feel crazy. He twisted her concern into drama, flipped her truth into confusion. Gaslighting. She knew the word, and now she was living it. She went back to their bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the lip gloss in her hand. Her mind replayed all the moments she had ignored. The perfume, the late nights, the sudden change in behavior. It all made sense now. Someone else had been in that car. Someone else had been close to her husband. That night, Adana didn't cry. She just lay there in silence, her eyes wide open. Chuka slept beside her like nothing was wrong, his back turned to her. She knew in her gut, this wasn't just suspicion. This wasn't a mistake. Something was happening behind her back, something she couldn't ignore anymore. The lip gloss was proof. Her heart was broken, but her mind was finally clear. This man was hiding something, and it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. Adana couldn't sleep. Chuka had been colder than ever, barely speaking to her, always glued to his phone or disappearing for hours. Her body was still healing from the surgery, her scar still sore, but her mind refused to rest. That night, she saw him doze off on the couch with his phone beside him. She quietly picked it up, opened the email app, and waited. His password was the same as before. He hadn't changed it. Her heart raced as she scrolled through his inbox. Then she saw it, a flight confirmation. 2 tickets to Zanzibar. She clicked the message and stared at the details. A luxury resort, ocean view suite, candlelight dinners for 2. The departure date was the same week she was lying at home, barely able to walk. She kept scrolling. The name on the second ticket made her chest tighten. Tari. He took Tari. She felt dizzy. Her breathing got faster. Her vision blurred with tears. But her rage held her steady. Her own husband, the man she gave a part of her body to save, had flown another woman to a tropical island while she lay at home, weak and in pain. She checked the hotel booking, photos of rose petals on the bed, private beach dinners, spa treatments for 2. Her stomach turned. This wasn't just cheating. This was betrayal at a level she couldn't process. Adana put the phone down and stood in silence, her hands shaking. She looked at herself in the mirror, the scar on her side, the tired eyes, the woman who had given everything. And for what? He used her. From the beginning, he had played the role of the loving husband. He cried in her arms, begged her for help, said she was his angel. But the moment he got what he needed, he dropped the act, left her broken and alone, while he took his side chick to paradise. She remembered how he used to call her his soulmate, how he promised forever. All lies. She sat back on the bed, gripping the edge, trying to calm herself, but it was too much. She felt like she was drowning in anger and heartbreak. How could someone be this heartless? How could he smile at her face and plan a romantic trip with another woman behind her back? And while she was still healing from surgery, Adana didn't cry that night. The pain was too deep for tears. She closed the email, returned the phone, and lay down. She stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. She knew she couldn't let this go. This wasn't just cheating. It was cruelty. It was betrayal with no shame. And at that moment, something in her shifted. The woman who gave a kidney out of love was gone. The woman now lying there was someone else, someone ready to take back control. Adana planned everything carefully. She cooked his favorite meal, set the table with candles, and even wore the red dress he used to love. She wanted him calm, off guard. When Chuka walked in and saw the setup, he looked surprised, maybe even impressed. He smiled like nothing was wrong and said, "This is nice." Adana smiled back, heart pounding, but her voice steady. She asked him to sit. He poured a drink, made small talk, completely unaware of what was coming. After dinner, she brought out a small envelope and placed it on the table. "Open it," she said quietly. Inside were printed photos, screenshots of the flight confirmation to Zanzibar, a selfie Tari had posted with palm trees behind her, a hotel receipt. He stared at them for a second, then looked up, expression blank. Adana leaned forward. "You flew her out while I was healing from surgery. I gave you my kidney, Chuka." There was a long silence. Then, without even pretending to deny it, he smirked. "So? You act like I owe you forever for that." Adana blinked, shocked. She expected excuses, lies, even fake tears, but not this. He continued, voice calm and cold. "You were convenient. You were there when I needed you. That's it." Adana froze. The man who once called her his angel now looked at her like she was nothing. "Convenient?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not wife material," he added, sipping his drink like it was just another evening. "You were always too emotional, too basic. Tari knows how to move. She knows how to keep things exciting." Adana felt her chest burn. The pain wasn't from the surgery anymore. It was from the truth, raw, bitter, and clear. He never loved her. He used her like a stepping stone, just as he said. She sat there, silent, but inside, something snapped. He stood up, stretched like he'd finished a normal dinner, and said, "Anyway, thanks for the kidney. Really helped. I'll come back for my stuff tomorrow." And just like that, he walked out. No remorse, no guilt. Just a thank you for the organ that saved his life, and a casual goodbye. Adana didn't cry. Not this time. She sat alone at the table, staring at the empty seat across from her, the candlelight flickering between them. It felt surreal, but also freeing, because now she finally saw the truth, and there was no turning back. The man she thought was her forever had just shown her who he really was, and it was time she showed him who she could become. Adana stopped getting out of bed. The days blurred together. She barely ate, barely spoke. Her body still hurt from the surgery, but her heart ached even more. Chuka had walked out and left her with scars, inside and out. She replayed everything over and over in her head, searching for answers, blaming herself. Was she too trusting, too soft? The betrayal kept echoing, and the silence of the house only made it louder. One afternoon, Mama Nkechi walked in unannounced. The older woman looked around the messy room, sighed, and walked straight to her daughter. Without warning, she slapped her, not hard, but firm enough to snap her out of the fog. "Wake up, Adana," she said. "You think lying here will heal you? Tears won't fix betrayal. You gave a man life, and he spat in your face. Are you going to let that go?" Adana blinked, stunned. Her mother had always been strict, but this fire in her eyes was different. "He used me, Mama," she whispered. "Yes," Mama Nkechi replied, "and he's out there living while you're dying inside. Get up, make him regret it." That night, Adana didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, thoughts racing. Her sadness turned into rage, a quiet, cold kind of rage. She didn't want to cry anymore. She wanted to move smart. She wanted payback, not loud, but lasting. She began to write everything down, dates, messages, names. She started tracking Tari online, digging into her connections. She knew Chuka was careless, and she would use that. Adana remembered stories Chuka had told her about shady business deals, how he sometimes adjusted figures to claim extra insurance. She checked old emails, found documents where her forged signature appeared. She took screenshots, saved files, printed copies. She didn't scream. She didn't call him. She just planned. She watched videos on how to file fraud reports. She set up fake accounts to follow Tari's social media closely. She noticed something strange. Tari was often seen with an older man in the background, a man she recognized as a well-known senator. Adana started gathering evidence, screenshots, photos, timestamps. It all built a bigger picture. Kelechi, her younger brother, helped her put the pieces together. He couldn't believe what Chuka had done, but now he saw that Adana wasn't weak. She was becoming dangerous. Mama Nkechi watched with pride. Her daughter was rising again, but this time sharper, wiser. Adana didn't want pity anymore. She wanted justice, but not the kind that comes from courtrooms, the kind that comes from outsmarting someone who thought he was untouchable. She wasn't the same woman who cried alone in the dark. That version of her died the day Chuka laughed in her face. The new Adana. She was quiet, calculating, and ready to strike. Adana couldn't sleep most nights. Her mind was on fire with thoughts of Chuka and the girl he threw everything away for, Tari. She started watching Tari's every move online. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Tari posted like someone who thought the world belonged to her. Expensive shoes, beach views, hotel rooms that didn't match her jobless status. It didn't take long before something strange caught Adana's eye. A man who appeared in the background of several photos. Same face, different outfit, same luxury vibes. Adana zoomed in on one of the photos, and her heart skipped. The man wasn't just anyone. It was Senator Agil, a well-known, very married politician. The same man who once showed up on the news for sponsoring youth programs. And here he was, holding hands with Tari, in a reflection behind her cocktail glass. Adana kept scrolling and found more. Different hotels. Same man, same girl. It was clear. Tari was not just Chuka's girlfriend. She was someone else's side chick too. Adana screenshot everything. Every tagged photo. Every comment. Every accidental mirror reflection. She put the pieces together like a puzzle and smiled for the first time in weeks. This wasn't just betrayal. It was karma. And now, she had the keys to open a door that would burn everything down. She created a new Facebook account using a fake name, complete with pictures of a random middle-aged woman she found online. Then, she sent a friend request to the one person who could make things even messier, the senator's wife. She didn't stop there. She liked her photos, commented politely, and even slid into her inbox with compliments. Slowly, the senator's wife accepted her as a harmless online friend. Days later, Adana struck. She messaged her calmly, attaching photos and writing, "I thought you deserved to know the truth. This young girl is using both your husband and mine. Here are the pictures. I'm so sorry." She didn't sign the message. She disappeared. But the effect, explosive. By the next morning, Tari's page had gone dark. Her posts vanished. Adana knew something had happened. She found out later that Senator Agile's wife had stormed into a hotel in Abuja and dragged Tari out by the weave, right in the lobby. A video leaked online, blurry but clear enough. People were laughing, commenting, sharing. The mighty had fallen. Chuka didn't know any of this yet, but Adana smiled as she watched his little fantasy burn. He thought he won when he walked out. He thought she was weak, emotional, broken. But now, she had turned pain into power, heartbreak into a weapon. She didn't need to lift a finger against him. Karma came wearing red heels and lipstick, with a camera phone in hand. And Adana, she was just getting started. Adana sat alone in her room, staring at the hospital documents again. Something felt off. She kept flipping the pages until her eyes stopped on one small signature. Her name, but not in her handwriting. Her heart raced. Chuka had forged her signature on the surgery insurance form. He didn't just use her for a kidney. He used her name to get money too. That was the final blow. But this time, Adana didn't cry. She picked up her phone and called the insurance company, anonymously. She gave them the policy number, told them to investigate the signature and the whole process. Then she hung up, heart pounding. She knew they would dig deeper. Insurance companies don't play with fraud, especially not when it involves forged signatures and organ transplants. But she wasn't done yet. She still had the screenshots. Tari and the senator, their luxury trips, secret meetups, hidden smiles in reflections. She opened a burner email, attached every photo, and sent it straight to the senator's wife. Subject line, "Thought you should know what your husband has been spending your money on." She didn't wait for a reply. She didn't need one. She just sat back and watched the chaos unfold. Within a week, the senator's scandal hit the blogs. His wife went public, loud and angry. Tari was exposed, not just as a mistress, but as someone who had destroyed a political household. Her name spread fast. Brands unfollowed her. Clients disappeared. She was blacklisted overnight. Then the real blow came. Chuka called Adana in panic, his voice shaking. "Did you do something?" he asked. She stayed silent, because he already knew. His bank accounts were frozen. The fraud case had reached his employer. His job suspended him pending investigation. His life was falling apart, just like he tore hers apart after the surgery. He thought he was smart. He thought he used her and moved on clean. But Adana remembered what Mama Nkichi said. Don't cry. Get even. And she did. Quietly. Precisely. Chuka never saw it coming. He underestimated the same woman who gave him a part of her body to save his life. Adana didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. All she did was plant the truth and let it grow into destruction. Chuka lost everything. Money, reputation, and even Tari, who now ran from both the senator and the internet. And Adana? She stood taller. She was no longer the broken girl after surgery. She was the storm they never expected. And this was just step one. It started with a knock, a soft, desperate knock on Adana's front door. She looked through the peephole and froze. Chuka, hair messy, eyes sunken, clothes wrinkled. He looked nothing like the man who once left her heartbroken. She opened the door just enough to hear him out. He stood there, swallowing hard, pretending to smile. Adana, I'm sorry, he began, his voice barely above a whisper. I was confused. I made a mistake. Tari, she left me. Everything's gone. My job, my house, my car. I have nothing now. Adana didn't say a word. She just looked at him. Looked at the same man who used to kiss her forehead and call her my soulmate. The same man who cried in her arms, begging her to save his life. The man she gave a kidney to, and who gave her betrayal in return. She remembered the nights she cried herself to sleep while he was partying with another woman. She remembered the photos, the lies, the laughter he shared with Tari while she lay in pain. Now here he was, broken, empty, hoping she'd take him back. He kept talking. I lost everything, Adana, but being without you, that's the worst part. I was blind, but I see it now. You were always the one. His words sounded rehearsed, like lines from a bad movie, but his eyes begged. He truly believed he could walk back into her life like nothing had happened. Adana finally spoke, calmly, softly. No anger, no shouting, just the truth. I gave you a part of me to keep you alive. You gave it to someone else to enjoy. And now you want to come back because the party's over. Chuka tried to grab her hand. Please, I've changed. She looked him straight in the eyes. I hope your next kidney comes with loyalty. And with that she shut the door. No drama, no tears, just peace. She walked away, leaving him standing there in the cold. She didn't look back, because that part of her life was closed forever. Inside, Adana smiled for the first time in months, not because Chuka got what he deserved, but because she finally got what she deserved: freedom, power, and peace. He came crawling back, expecting pity, but all he got was a door in his face. Sometimes, silence is the loudest revenge. And sometimes, healing doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from knowing your worth and choosing yourself. Adana sat in front of her camera, her hair pulled back, her face bare. The scar from the kidney surgery peeked through the neckline of her blouse. She didn't hide it anymore. Instead, she looked straight into the lens and spoke clearly. This scar is ugly, yes, but what I've become is beautiful. That was the first line of her very first video. She titled it, He Took My Kidney, But Not My Power. She told her story in simple words. No filters, no fake tears, just truth. Her truth. She didn't name names. She never once said Chuka. Instead, she called him the taker, the one who took her love, her trust, her body, and tried to leave her empty. But the twist, she didn't stay broken. Adana shared every step, from giving her kidney, to watching him walk away, to the pain, to the rage, and finally, the revenge that felt sweeter than love. Women from all over began flooding her page with comments. Some were crying, some were angry, but all of them felt seen. In less than a month, her video crossed 1 million views. People weren't just watching, they were connecting. She kept posting, telling stories, giving advice, speaking life into women who had been used and left behind. Her channel exploded. Interviews followed. She appeared on talk shows, panels, even podcasts. A publisher reached out with a book deal, The Taker and the Scar, A Journey Back to Power. Adana didn't hold back. She poured every piece of her pain into those pages. Not to get pity, but to give power. She became the face of strength after betrayal. She smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because she knew who she was now. No one could take that away again. The more successful she became, the more people asked, what happened to the taker? But Adana never answered. She refused to give him space in her spotlight. He had already taken too much. Her story wasn't about him anymore. It was about every woman who had lost something and still stood up. She ended one of her final videos with a simple, powerful line that echoed across the internet. I gave a man life, and I took mine back 10 times over. It went viral, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real, raw, and freeing. Adana's scar didn't disappear, but now it wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a symbol of survival, proof that she had been through fire and came out gold. She didn't just heal, she rose, and in rising, she lit the path for others. If you've ever given your all to someone who only came to take, remember this. Your pain is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your power. Just like Adana, you can rise, scarred but stronger, hurt but unbreakable. Let this story be a voice for every silent heartbreak and a spark for every woman ready to take her life back. If this touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories. Thank you so much for watching.